Wait to hear today's guest, Ben Glynn. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida. He started out with a team that had evolved out of necessity and then decided to eliminate it, also out of necessity. Stay tuned for more details on all of that, because if you're thinking about a team, you're going to want to hear this.
Welcome to Real Estate Riches, where Kathy Byrnes empowers realtors to achieve the success they've always dreamed of. Starting her career at 55, Kathy built a thriving business that offers the freedom of time and financial independence. And now she's sharing her journey to help others do the same. Whether new to the industry or looking to level up, this channel is your hub for proven strategies, inspiring stories, and the tools you need to grow your real estate business. Join Kathy each week to explore global opportunities, successful systems, and expert insights to take your career to the next level. Get comfortable, pick a video, and start learning. Your journey to success starts now.
Hey everybody, it's Kathy Byrnes here with Real Estate Riches, and today I have Ben Glynn, and he is going to share some golden nuggets for us as well. So hey Glenn,
Hello.
not Glenn, see I'm already going with the first name. All right, erase that part, guys. So hey Ben.
How are you doing?
Great, glad to have you on here today. And you're in sunny Florida. Is it actually warm down there?
It is lovely right now. We are in our time where it's about mid 70s, like very low humidity. So this is ideal. I wish we could keep it this way for about 8 months, but it only
Right?
lasts
Oh,
another couple of days and then we'll start getting that humidity again.
yeah, darn it, darn it. All right, great. And so you want to give us a little background about who you are, how you got started into real estate, and your story?
Sure. Yes. So I am the team lead for the Glynn team with Berkshire Hathaway Realty here in Jacksonville.
Mhm.
And I have been in the business, I'm kind of embarrassed to say, probably about 20 years now. But my wife and I actually started the business together. She was in the business before I started, my wife Tracy, and her mom was actually a developer. And
Oh,
so she got into the business that way. And when I started kind of watching her and seeing what she did, and she sold me my first house,
hmm.
and I watched that process and kind of learned a little bit. And then, interestingly enough, this was back when we lived in Wisconsin, we lived in kind of a smaller town, and there was a developer who had called her to do a new construction development in the area.
Wow.
And so she was excited about it, but a little nervous, hadn't ever put together like a business plan and a proposal and things like that. So she asked me if I could help her and go on the presentation with her to do that. So I did, and we did the presentation and it turned out well. And they said, well, we're really excited. We love the idea of the team and having you guys together. And I said, well, wait a minute, I'm just here to, kind of help. She's really the one who does the real estate. I'm in corporate sales. And they said, well, unless we have the team, we don't want to go forward with you guys. We like the
Oh,
team concept. So we talked about it a little bit. And I said, well, I can kind of duck out of corporate for a while and get this started and get it rolling and then move back into corporate. Well, that was about 20 years ago. So never ended up going back to corporate. And then we moved out to Florida in 2013. And I actually took a step out for a while and did a corporate role for a little bit. And then I got back into real estate full time in 2018 here in the Jacksonville area and have been in ever since.
So did you guys have a trouble back in 2013 when you moved to Florida? Was
Mhm.
that like reinventing yourself in a whole new area?
It was. It was starting all over again. When we lived in Wisconsin, that was where we'd both grown up. We knew a lot of people. We had our whole sphere of friends and family and, high school friends and college friends and everything else.
Yeah.
And then we came to Florida and knew nobody. So it was really starting from absolute zero and starting with, internet leads and trying to get people that way and then kind of slowly building the practice. And in about year 3 was when I finally started feeling like I was established and started getting some repeat business and some referral business. And then it's kind of built its way from there.
Yeah. And boy, that repeat business is so essential, but it's tricky to keep. So what's your lessons on, creating a repeat business?
Yeah, great question. And it is. I mean, it's something that I focus on and I really tell, newer agents and anybody who asks me to really focus on your group because the statistics are mind-boggling on this as far as, it's 80 some percent of people, will work with the first realtor that they talk to, but about 26% of people use their original realtor for their second subsequent purchases,
Right.
which was always amazing to me. But a lot of that is because there's just no communication after this. And
Mhm.
so we really make it a priority to do basically a minimum of 12 touches per year to all of our past clients. And a touch can be anything from as simple as a text message, hey, how are you doing? Reminding them of things like, taxes or insurance information or any changes that have come on the market. We'll do a quarterly newsletter. And then we also do at least one annual client appreciation party. So we can see people in person and, shake their hands, give them a hug,
Yep, yep.
find out how they're doing. And so it's really, again, focusing on that. And then there's also two companies that we use that do little gifts and kind of freebies to local communities in the area, local, whether it's a sandwich shop or a
Right.
new restaurant, anything like that, just to again kind of keep us as top of mind as possible.
Yeah. Do you follow like Brian Buffini or something? Is that where you got that 12 touch system?
So I didn't. I do follow him. That's not where I got the system. I got it from two brokerages ago. There was a broker that I talked to who was starting their own business, and they were very detail oriented and had a
Mhm.
whole every year they put together their plan on exactly what day they were sending it out and what the content was going to be. And
Good.
unfortunately, I'm not that detail oriented. I wish I were more like that, but it is something that I definitely took to heart and keep in mind. And Berkshire Hathaway also has some really nice processes in place to help
Mhm.
with that. So it's kind of a set it and forget it type of thing, which works well. But I also, really do like to talk to my clients regularly, and whether that's just picking up the phone and giving them a call or shooting them a text message, trying
Yeah.
to stay, again, that top of mind as best we can.
Hold 1 second. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Hay fever season here. Oh, I did that too. I had a business partner, a couple years in when I started in the industry, and she followed Brian Buffini, and she would do all these handwritten notes, and we switched it over to send out cards. And then I created a card that was called "I Got a Guy," and so I got a guy and a gal too. That would be the cover of the card. And you could do it online. It even had an app, but it would send it US mail. It still does. I use it all the time.
Oh, I love
And
that.
I created a list of my past clients that I wanted to do business with. You don't want to always do the business with the
All
same.
right.
And
Right.
also with different vendors that I worked with. And I would promote one vendor a month. I never gave my whole list. And I
Okay.
would promote the vendor. The left side would have his logo, something from their website, and then all their contact information. The right side would have, hey, this is my monthly letter, on my monthly card where I send you somebody that I respect and honor. I'm not paid for this. Here's why I
Sure.
love this person. And if you know anybody that needs this, let them know. And if ever I don't have a guy, I got a guy who's got a guy. So,
Yep.
and then the back was branded, and I would send that out every single month. And the reason I sent it to the vendors that I would all the vendors because I'm in a networking group, and I would send it to all these vendors because if I promoted them, they promoted me.
Sure.
So it
Sure.
was, I'm in BNI, so it was a giver's gain philosophy, which is also
Okay.
biblical. And I've gotten so much business through the years. Matter of fact, I got my biggest listing ever, a $5 million listing. It took 12 years, but I stayed in touch, and I sold her several homes throughout that time. But she had this big one when I first met her. And 12 years later, after just dripping and dripping, selling a little house here for her son or her sister, she goes, I'm going to sell the big one. I go, oh, how about me? She goes, you're the one. So
Good
that
for
was great.
you. That is great. And I love that the I've got a guy.
Yeah. You're
It's
welcome to
that
steal it.
well, it's funny you say that because that's a tagline that I use with my clients.
Hmm?
And it drives me nuts because I go out of my way to tell all of them, look, if you're ever doing anything in your house, whether it's any kind of renovation, anything new, anything to the house at all, please give me a call because I've got a guy. And if I don't, I can find somebody
Yeah.
that, reputable, that I've done work with, other clients have done work with. So I'm confident that they're going to do a good job. And I've had so many people that'll call me and they'll say, oh, I just had this done and it really didn't turn out the way I thought. And I spent a lot more money. And I said, why didn't you call me?
Yeah.
So it's a great philosophy and it really helps because I can't tell you how many clients, especially in our area, there are very few people that are actually from Jacksonville.
Sure.
Most people are coming from all over. And
Yeah.
so they don't know those people that can do that work. And so it's a real beneficial service to offer. And it's something
Yeah.
that we definitely try and promote.
Well, and I don't think unless that like the card makes us top of mind every single month. And
Absolutely.
I'm known for that card. I'm known for a few things, but the card is one of them.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
And it's catchy. It comes in a great envelope. It's like a birthday card kind of envelope size, right?
Okay,
And the envelope is blue. So it stands out in the crowd of all the junk mail. Yeah.
sure.
So
That's a
people
great
look forward
approach.
to it. And I get a lot from vendors as a result.
I
So
bet.
yeah. But that's why I want them included in the card.
Right.
Because then
Oh.
it's like, hey, can I be on the card this week? Let's see.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I've been doing that probably since I think 2012. So forever.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it served me well. Well, that's great. So you talked about you were did you say Minnesota?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
Close.
Pretty close.
Wisconsin. Well, when you were there, you mentioned before when we were talking that you had a team. So a lot of agents feel that the way that they're going to grow is to build a team. And
Right.
then they find out that it's kind of not as glamorous as they thought or not as profitable as they thought. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's true. And there are some people, I mean, I'm somebody who I love teaching. I love helping. I've always enjoyed that and watching people kind of learn and do things. But, it just depends on what you want to do and really what your personality is, but also what your goal is, what your
Right.
personal passion is. And for me, at the time in Wisconsin, when we started the business, our business was very unique in the fact that we had 3 developers that we worked with. And
Mhm.
so just about everything we were doing was new construction. And it was a lot of, being a site agent, so being on site on location. But I was also kind of a mini expediter. I also went to all the board meetings to, pitch the projects and talk to people. And so as a result of that, we would need people on the back end to either sit in model homes or help sell the buyer of the new construction home. They had a house to sell. And
Mhm.
so I couldn't take those listings. And so I would, give them to team members. So that really worked out well. And, for the most part, we had 6 agents, and those 5 of the 6 were experienced. So it wasn't that they were new agents that needed a whole lot of training. It was more,
Right.
kind of coming over and working with us. And I liked that because it was, I was just there for the occasional question. It was when they got stuck with something or kind of a one-off unique situation, then we would find the answers to that. But building a team is hard. It takes a lot of work. There are a lot of questions. There's a lot of liability because at the end of the day, if you're the broker, you're responsible for anything that your agents do or say.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of liability there. And for me, you know, looking back at what we did in Wisconsin, I wouldn't have changed that because I like the setup and what we did there. But when we moved to Florida, we made the conscious decision to not have a team. So we could really kind of focus and fine tune our business and not have to be responsible for anybody else. It's not to say that we don't help and do team things and collaborate with people. We do that all the time because we really enjoy it. But it's just we didn't like the idea of adding more people onto the team just because it was, kind of our brand, our reputation, and that's how we wanted to keep it.
Yeah. So now when you moved to Florida and you probably knew next to nobody,
Right.
how did you launch that business?
It was starting brand new all over again as if I was a brand new agent. And so it was starting with internet leads was the way that I got started. And at that time, I had a brokerage that had basically pay-per-click ads that they gave, and they were $25 a lead. So it was very inexpensive, but it was also very low return. So it was,
Yeah.
you had to get 1,000 of them and make the calls and do all the follow-ups and the 10 days of pain or whatever you want to call it. But I, that's what I did and kind of slowly and surely built up the business. Then I figured out a little bit about Facebook ads and marketing, and that has been actually a real beneficial source for me because I've been able to, fine tune that a little bit and get some good results from that. And then I, dabbled a little bit with Zillow and with Realtor.com and with some of the other bigger, companies as well. And it was really just a matter of, tracking your spend and seeing where the ROI return. And
Right.
it took me about 3 years before I kind of felt solid and stable in the business and started getting some repeat business and some referral business. And then it's kind of taken off from there.
That's great. That's great. So one of my questions when I asked you to respond to see about coming on the podcast was about AI. And you
Yeah.
said you're kind of limited on that.
I am. So I do use ChatGPT,
Good.
and I'll use that for anything from, writing a listing description, doing some social media posts, some of that sort of stuff. But I know that there's so much more capabilities and capacity in there. And so one of my goals is to basically take at least an hour a week and learn more about AI because it's so prevalent and there are so many different use cases for it. And it's stuff that I just need to really learn and kind of focus on because that's definitely a technology that's going to be around for a long time. And I think can be very beneficial if you know how to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I teach it and
Oh, good.
I have a webinar that's free and there's a downloadable guide. I'm doing
Okay.
them every month and every month I change it up because every month it's evolved. So
Absolutely.
it's going at such a rapid pace that any realtor that chooses to only dabble in it will be really blown away by the ones who dive into it. I'm diving in. So I'm 2.5 years into it. And
Oh,
as
wow.
soon as I found out about it, well, I'm a techie, so I love this stuff. And so as a matter of fact, I have full on communications. It's like it's my buddy on a regular basis. I ran out of space, which I didn't even know was a thing till recently. And I do the paid for version, the $20 a month, not the 200.
Okay.
But you can create your own personal persona so that it always knows you when you ask a question. It knows everything, how you trained it. And that is simple to do. And it has a task feature in there where you could set up tasks for it to do, remind you of tasks. Like I have it at 6 o'clock every morning. It's supposed to tell me any updates that it's had and how to do the updates.
Oh, wow.
And they're
Okay.
pretty consistently happening. And I'm
Yeah.
like, holy cow, okay, fine, I'll keep up with that. The pictures, the videos, the things, how you can convert pictures into videos. It's staggering. I did the whole guide that I downloaded in harmony with ChatGPT. And
Oh,
you can do presentations with Gamma, which is another whole thing. You just tell it what you want your presentation to be about, and it creates these PowerPoint slides that are stunning with all the key points that you want, and you can adjust it and be done in nanoseconds. So the
amazing.
efficiency that it can bring. And there's another one called Whoosy.ai that it just does everything. And for realtors, it's just too good. That's $99 a month, very worth it because it organizes your whole business. It helps with your emails, your texts. There's an AI component into it. I'm going to put all those links in this video just so you know, people.
I was going to start writing them down, but if you're going to put them in the link,
Yeah. Well, in the webinar, I'm going to be doing that at the end of every month, except for June, because I'm gone in June. But every single month, I want to do those because realtors aren't paying attention enough to this. The ones that are, because AI is coming at such an accelerated speed in our world that every industry will be affected by it. And the efficiency that it can offer those who choose to work with it is mind blowing. The content that it can create for you, mind blowing. I work in Portugal a lot. I do outgoing referrals in Portugal,
Okay.
which you may have people down in your area that want to invest in Portugal. You got to reach out to me, buddy, because I will help you with agents that are over there. I'm trying to teach agents to think bigger, think outside
Right.
their little circle, because
Yep.
we are a global economy because of tech. And Florida is a hot spot for investing in other parts of the world.
It's funny you
Dubai.
mentioned Portugal. My wife is dying to go to Portugal.
Oh, I'm going to be there almost the whole month of June. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so much to know. I asked ChatGPT, I said, I want to do business in Portugal. So I want to start doing LinkedIn articles about Portugal for the next 15 weeks. I want you to give me an outline of what would be key things that would be topics for a LinkedIn article. Boom, it gave me 15 things. I said, all right, every LinkedIn article needs a summary post. So will you create that as we start to create this? And it said yes. Now I'd already trained it on my style, my how I write, how I talk,
Right.
how I think, so that it writes as if it's me. And now I
Wow.
can tweak things. And then in the summary, I said I'm going to need hashtags that are going to relate to that are SEO strong. So it creates that. And I said, okay, I'm going to want to do an Instagram post based on this. So that only allows me 1,200 words. So summarize it down to 1,200 words, include hashtags that relate to it, because I have a whole different model on Instagram than I have on LinkedIn articles and I have on LinkedIn posts. Each one has a different algorithm that I wanted it to write for. So I asked so I'm giving it the homework assignment. It already has the 15 topics, right? But here's
Okay.
the formula that I wanted to write. Now, my article, I wanted it to be 3 to 5 minutes, no more, because that's typical for an article on LinkedIn. And then I said, all right, now I'm going to need a picture to be my standout picture for this post. So give me 4 or 5 ideas on the perfect picture for this post. And then tell me where I can go get a picture like that for free. So tells me all that stuff. And also the first part was it was creating a blog for my website. And I said, all right, I'm going to name you Betty the blogger. And every time I come back, Betty, I'm going to say, do number 1. And now number 1 is going to be all those components for me in one powerful thing. And I'll review it. And then I'll just post it. So, and I said, and after that, I'll say, okay, number 2 is up next. And it will do the exact same thing. I said, are you ready, Betty? And it says, yep. Tell me when you're ready. I said, okay, go. Number 1. And it gave me everything I needed. I review it. I post them. Takes me maybe 15 minutes to post. And I did that for 15 weeks. And that started to change my business in Portugal, because now people are seeing me write all about Portugal. I would also say in there, if you're thinking about moving to Portugal, I have contacts in Portugal now. And so people would contact me and I would get outgoing referrals. I did a hotel for 5 million. I have an equestrian estate for 2.5 million now, and I have a potential castle. We don't have a price point on that one. That's the kind of things that start to happen, because people are
Wow.
saying, who is this Kathy Byrnes? What's she doing out here? And
Right.
why is she talking about outgoing referrals? I want
Sure.
everyone to think bigger. I want the agents to look at their pool of clientele and see who's looking for investment strategies. Some of them may want to buy over in Portugal because they have incredible rentals or they have short-term stays, much like we do here, right? But a buyer may say, boy, I'd love to go to Portugal once a year. I just love it there. And my favorite spot's in the Algarve. And I'd say, okay, if you could buy something that would help you pay for the lovely place that you could have, where it could be furnished and you could rent it out and it was all property managed, decorated for you. You got to stay there. You pick your time or frame that you want to go and they'll manage renting it out and you can have this investment. And depending on the amount that you did it in, you could probably get a visa on it, because that's another whole thing that could happen. And I have money exchangers that help with the money exchange. I have high-end luxury agents all over Portugal that can help. And that's what happened by starting to do those articles.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I've got an attorney in New York, and she is from Portugal, and she works on getting the visas over there and getting things set up. So
Okay.
I'm building my army.
Right.
because I would like to go hang out in Portugal and have a place of my own as well. And
So what made you pick Portugal to begin with?
well, funny enough, I was there probably 35 years ago and from a cruise. And
Oh,
went up to, we landed in Lisbon and we went up to Cinta. I have a watercolor picture that I got from someone on the street and I forgot about it, but it's been with me all my moves that I've done.
sure,
And EXP, that's the company I'm with, they're in all these different countries. And I said, boy, I'd like to go back to Portugal, and we're in Portugal there. And I said, dude, maybe I could start doing outgoing referrals to Portugal and earn some extra money. I'm
sure.
also going to be 75. I don't want to keep buying and selling. So I want to have residual income and a cool place to go hang out. And
Right.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. Good for
Yeah.
you. That's great. I love it.
So start thinking of your database
Yes.
and reach out to me. Any country, you almost name a country. I'm going to Spain at the end of June. I'll be in Portugal the majority of June, but I'm going to Barcelona the last week.
Okay.
And I'm going to be making connections all over there as well, because that's my mission.
Yeah.
And Spain is really revered as well. And Italy and France and England. I have Australia and New Zealand too.
Wow. Very nice.
So I just haven't dove into them yet. My next
Right.
stop is Spain. So I'm working on that one since I'll be there at the end of June.
I love it. I love it.
So anyway, all right. So other questions with you. I'm happy to send you that information though about the webinar so you could get
Yes.
started on that. And
If you
that's
could.
complimentary.
Absolutely.
So any other tips you've got for people? Like, do you use systems for staying in touch as far as like your clients' CRM or something?
I do. So we've got a CRM that we use. We had KV Core, and now we've got something called Real Scout,
Uh-huh.
and that's been very helpful. But I mean, for me, what I do with all my past clients, and this is something that I learned from the Ninja training class, is I'll actually print out a hard copy of a list, and I will literally, go through and check off
Smart.
just for a text message or a phone call or whatever it is, because I know that they get things automated as far as postcards,
Yeah.
newsletters, that thing. But as far as a personal touch, I want to be sure
Yeah.
that I have that as well. And so I'll literally print out a hard copy and just cross it off because it's always in front of me at my desk. I always see it. And when I've got
Yeah.
some downtime, I can knock out 4 or 5 of them in a day and that's get it done.
That's smart. That's smart. So how do you see your business for this year? What are you doing different in this interesting market?
Yeah, so far this year, we've been off to a really good start. I know that this year is a little bit tougher for us for a couple reasons. One is we've just got more inventory than
Mm,
we've had for a long time. I mean, for COVID, with Jacksonville and with the state of Florida to begin with, we were one of the states that were open
right.
during COVID. And so there
Smart.
was a mass of people that came here. And interestingly enough, now what we're seeing is a little bit of the reverse because there are a lot of people who came and they thought that either their family was going to follow them or something else was going to happen. And long story short, for whatever reason, it didn't happen, or the company that they worked for now allows them to work from home. So they can
Oh,
work from wherever they want to work. And so a lot of people that moved in 2020, 21, 22 are now moving back to where they were from because they don't have to, they can do that. They have the flexibility
right.
to do that. Now, with all that being said, there's still a ton of people that are moving to Florida
Sure.
and so, that's we're fortunate in that respect. And we're just getting, there was just an article last week that in March of this year, we had the largest number. So in St. Johns County, which is one of the larger counties here in Jacksonville, and it's the county that has the best schools in
Mm,
Florida. So it's a very desirable area. A lot of people come here for the schools.
mm.
In March in St. Johns County, we had the largest number of increase in inventory than we've had since 2019. So, and that was staggering, but we're still getting back to kind of a quote unquote normal market, which people have forgotten about because we've been so, abnormal for the last couple of years, and we've had those definite unicorn years during
Yeah.
COVID. but we're back with what I would say is a more balanced market. And there is a little bit more inventory. The days on market is a little bit longer. And so, the biggest thing for us is really dealing with our sellers and trying to prepare them and let them know, look, I'm sure you heard the story about your neighbor who sold their house in 2 days and had 30 offers. That was a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now we're back to a more normal market. So it's probably 65 to 75 days is normal. And, that's what we're looking at. So it's really just setting that expectation and giving them the data to support that information up
Right.
front, so they know that you know what you're talking about and they feel comfortable with what you're doing. And then the other thing is just, consistently being in contact. We do at least once a week. We reach out to our sellers just to give them an update.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
what happened this week. This is how many showings. This is what's going on. If we haven't had any showings, is there a reason why? Do we need to do a price change or some other sort of adjustment to the home? And just, make sure that they're, again, comfortable with the plan, that they're seeing what you're doing, that you're not silent and they just think you stuck a sign in their yard and walked away.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
a big part of it.
Well, that's great. Any last words of wisdom, or we got covered it all?
No, I mean, I think I love your idea of thinking more globally and thinking bigger. That is something that's key. I mean, we make a lot of referrals to partners throughout the US, and it's critical to do that. And we also like to find agents in different states that can be our referral partners, because
Sure.
once you can get somebody who you're comfortable with, then that takes all the guesswork out of it, and you're just able to send them that way and know that they're going to be well taken care of. So
Yeah.
definitely building that database is huge.
Right. So now start thinking global. We'll help
Yes.
your wife find her spot.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on here, Ben. I really appreciate it. Lots of good stuff.
Of course. Yes. Thank you. I had a great time.
Okay, great. Well, if you like that, stay tuned for more, because we got lots of good people coming on and lots of good nuggets for everybody to benefit from. So hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe below and we'll see you on the next one. So thanks for joining me on this episode of Real Estate Riches. Wasn't that great? I'm sure you got a nugget or two. I know I did. So if you liked it, please subscribe below, share it with everybody, make some comments. We really find that invaluable. And if you're thinking that you would love to talk about this a little bit more, let's schedule a business strategy call. I'll have the link below. And let's see if we can't mastermind together and see if we can empower each other. That would be great. So until next time, signing off. Hope to see you on the next one.